understand. See, this is why it is little bit technical one. Okay. Now, when you are doing the things, why it is important? Very, very specific. Every question will have like this. Whenever you are talking about the question, they will say that first paragraph they will talk about the entity. Then they will talk about the role, your role. Are you audit senior, audit junior, audit manager, audit new client? In everything they will, what is the role of the firm they will put. Then subsequently in the next 1, 2, 3 paragraphs they will give you questions related scenario. So that is the reason when you are talking about when you are talking in terms of the entity, it is very much clear what we have to know. And when we do the things, what we are saying, we are talking about the nature of entity, its operations, reporting, investment, finance. We are not going in detail. Okay, we are not. But we are touching top. This is fundamentals. Okay. Second, we will think that what are the yes, Salaam alaikum Laila.
Walaikum salam, sir. How are you?
Fine, alhamdulillah. We are continuing. Okay. We then will think that what are the how the industry regulations are there. Okay. How the industry regulations, which type of industry, how the things will working. We should know the industry, competitors, all the things. Then we will also think about, we will assess what is how there is a functioning. Okay. How the functioning are there, internal controls are there, whether if internal audit is effective or not. That gives you a message that yes, things are perfect. Okay. Next, we also think about what are the strategies, what are the risk related to the business. If it is retail, I told you every business will have, some businesses with retail industry, fast moving consumer goods. Okay. Fast moving consumer, sometimes inventory, it will get spoilage very quickly. Then we see, I told you the clothing, seasonal business will be there. Then we have to think how we have to manage the inventory, how we have to manage the assets. Apart from that, selection and application of accounting policies, how the valuation will be done. Okay, how the valuation will done, how the revaluation will be done. In some cases, when you are doing the revaluation, is it right? We are not talking about this, but IFRS 13 will be there, fair value. Is it? We are not doing, but what the rule of, we are not using IFRS 13, but we should know the rules of fair value, revaluation. When you are revaluing the assets, you have to revalue all the assets. Is it? We should revalue all the assets. We should revalue it consistently on some whether it is annual basis or once in a 2 years. There should be a policy. There should not be no selective. Okay, no selective policies. This is what the revaluation will be done. People will revalue, firms will revalue. Then on what basis you have making a revaluation? There should be a consistent policy. Is it? We are talking in terms of what? We are talking in terms of financial performance, key indicators. Okay, we are talking about, see, whenever we say it is a financial performance, they will, as an auditor, you will ask whether there is a budgets are there or not. As an auditor, you will ask, you will discuss with the management, the budgets are there or not. You have prepared the budgets, where are the budgets, all the things you will ask. Is that you are talking in terms of your financial analysis, a little bit about the ratio analysis. Is it? We will say what are the key KPIs, key performance indicators. We are all doing this very elaborately, very substantially. We are doing this in practical life. Here we will touch and go. Okay, understand my point? It is the moment we start doing question answers, you will understand the simplicity of that. Again, I am telling you this. The approach should be very simple. The approach should be very, very straightforward. Is it? Now, we will cover various different factors. have a look of, there are some different. Now I will give you a idea. In your portal, in your ACCA website, is that there are so many resources are there. You will have ACCA hub is there. This they have started very recently, from the last 3-4 exams back. Okay, you have lot of vehicles. Is that you have the examiner's feedback. Is that you have the examiner's feedback. They will give you feedback. The moment most important, you read the feedback, you will be very comfortable position. And most importantly, you will have technical articles. Don't read this right now. Okay, understand my point? This is too early to understand. Let we complete chapter 8, chapter 9. Then I will by default I will ask you to read technical. See, technical articles, why we are reading? We should know what's happening recently, and more importantly, we should know that the language of auditing. That's very important. Okay, so these are three things are there. One, there is a hub, one, there is a feedback, and one, there is a technical articles. Okay, now if you focus on these things will be very simple and very easy. People will not read technical articles at all. Okay, you join the groups, it is there. If there are groups, you join, nothing will happen. You will get lot of information. You can know how. Don't get involved, but you should understand people will how they are approaching. You don't change your style. Understand? You don't change your style, but you can observe how the people are approaching it. Now coming back to this, what it says, why assessing the risk of material misstatements? How we are going to assess? Okay, once you understand the entity, is that understand the firm, is that understand the firm, how they are working, you should know where there is a possibility of risk. Where are the weak points? Is it right? Where are the weak points? Where are ineffective controls? Where the proper possibility, that's what I say. Where there is a possibility and where there is a probability. That errors, first we think that where the errors will happen and where the fraud will happen. Is it? Now, this is what it says, material mistake. Identify risk throughout the process. You have to observe, you have to follow. Walk through will be there. There is a one word is called as a walk through. You are doing the same thing. As an employee, you have to act. As an employee, you have to act. You have to say that how the payroll is going on. You have punching system, exit, payroll, attendance, everything you have to observe how they are doing the thing. Inventory valuation, you have to observe. You have to observe the process, how the process will work. Isn't it? That's very important. Identify throughout the risk of process, obtaining the understanding the entity and its environment. The moment we say environment, it is very clearly, it is control environment. Is that what is the control? This is the first point. Now, second is assess the if you have identified. So there is a risk in payroll, there is a risk in inventory, there is a risk in the segregation of duties. Is that there is a risk overlapping of duties. You have to identify and evaluate whether they are pervasively to the financial. That means they are working blanketly. Is that pervasively means it's happening every time or it's not happening every time? Is that it's recurring? That's a problem. See, you may have some weak controls, but any weak controls, you have what we have to make sure that you have to make this weak into effective controls. Is it? You have sometimes you will not have controls. You have to implement that control. You should see once there is an error, you should rectify that error. Is that? That's very important. Is that it happens? This word we use very, very frequently. Is it? This word we use very, very frequently. When you are talking about pervasive, it is going to happen all the time, or it happens in once in a time. Okay? It happens all the time, or it happens once in. If it happens every other time, okay, is that it is not going to helpful for us. Is it right? It is not going to helpful for us. That's what. And it happens with respect to all the financial statements. It impacting. Now, when we say this, if you anything, the most important thing, what is there? You will have sales, you will have purchases. Once you say purchases, inventory. Is it right? What are the important things? You will have sales, you have purchases, you have salaries. Is it right? We have salaries, you have non-current assets. Is it? You have non-current. These are the things we are going. You have cash and bank. Is it right? When you are talking about the sales, you will have something related to receivables. Even you are talking about the salaries, it is something related to payroll. When you are talking of purchases, it is related to payables. See the things, how you have purchases, it links to the inventory, it links to the payables. They will focus. You take this, you just note down this. I am putting this in a box. These are the only things they will ask again and again repeatedly. Is that these are only things they will ask. They will focus on this. It relates to the risk. What can go wrong? Assertion is little bit in a little bit we are ahead of this. We have to go somewhere down the line. Then we'll say that assertion. Assertion means nothing but, I will not say it is a proving, but you have to assert. Assert means you have to, in what way I can say, you have to say with that confidence. Is it? Assertion. Means assertions will not be one. Assertions will be on the, assertions will be with respect to what? Completeness. Assertions with respect to what? Accuracy. Assertion with respect to what? Rights and obligations. Is it? Rights and obligation. You see, when you have take an example very clearly. When you are having plant and machinery, is it? When you have, there is so many things are there. Plant and machinery is owned, plant and machinery is rented, plant and machinery is leased. Is that plant and machinery? Now you should know, assertion means if plant and machinery is owned, you have to know the invoice. You have to see invoice as a evidence. Invoice should be in the name of the firm. That is assertion. Is it right? You are inspecting the plant and machinery. It is an assertion. Rights and obligation. You have taken the loan for plant and machinery. You have to get the confirmation. That is the assertion. Assertion means you should have, when we are saying rights and obligations, you see, if I am saying I am owning, immediately what you will do, you will see that whether you have the legal papers or not, whether you have the invoice or not, whether it is existing or not, whether you are calculating depreciation or not. These are all the things which you will go in a sequence order. Is it right? This is where we are talking about a risk, that what can go wrong at the assertion level. We will complete this. In the examination, they will ask one question only on this. Consider the likelihood of risk causing material misstatements. If you are talking about all the risk as such, definitely, if the risk is causing material misstatements in terms of value. Is it? If it is causing in terms of value, it is a matter of concern. Only thing is, it should, The moment it is misstatements in terms of value, materially, then it is a point of discussion. Is it? What the auditor will do? The auditor is also going, what are the significant risks? What it requires special consideration. Significant risk means what is very sensitive in nature. Is it right? What are the sensitive? Sensitive in nature. See, you have done voluntary obligation, and another one is what is there? Voluntary obligation and voluntary disclosure, and there are two types of disclosures. What are there? What are the two types of disclosures?
Required by law.
One is voluntary, another one is
Mandatory.
huh?
Mandatory.
No. We have done this. Which we have done?
4.
4. What is that? I will ask randomly, okay? I will ask randomly. Yeah, intimidation, familiarity, advocacy, self-review, fee, dependence, factor, self-interest. Not, it is not in the end. See, voluntary disclosure and obligatory disclosure. See, I have put like this. Is it right? Again, I am saying, make it a point. Read this one. Is that what do you mean by voluntary disclosure? They have given voluntary. What are the voluntary disclosures and what are the obligatory disclosures? Okay, voluntary disclosures. Disclosure is necessary, protect the member's interest. Obligation is, if it is against the, must disclose the information to competent authority. Obligation. Obligatory disclosure and voluntary disclosure. Okay, now is a obligatory disclosure. Fine. Now what it says, see, if it is fraud, it is an obligation. Is right? It is an obligation. Relationship with economic, accounting or other developments. Is that relationship with accounting? You should not have self-interest in any of the situations. In terms of subjectivity, degree means you cannot influence. Okay, you cannot influence. Subjectivity, you cannot enforce anything. Unusual transactions of high value. Is that right? Any transactions of high value, anything which is not on a regular aspect, definitely we have to be very cautious. Significant transactions with the related parties. Is it right? What is the related party? IAS Mugid?
IAS 24.
IAS 24. Is it right? Yeah, in financial reporting it is there. Is it right? IAS 24. We will not ask. Why I am saying is we should when we are talking about the related party, we have to make sure that it should be in terms of arm's length transaction. Is it? They should not be Group companies will be there. Is it? Group companies will be there. They will ask all these things. Transfer pricing. Is it? These things we have to be very careful. Complexity of transactions. What will happen if you take the things? If we have done this in financial reporting, it is there. What will happen? You will own the asset. You will sell the asset. Then you will take it on lease. Is it? You are selling, owning the asset, selling the asset, taking on the lease. You have the transactions has to be very, very clear. Is that? Otherwise, what will happen? There is a chance of a fraud. Is that? There is a chance of a fraud. Likewise, these are only example. In questions, it will be much specific and straightforward. Okay, means what the message they want to say is, if there is any significant risk you notice, you have to make sure that it will have impact. In the examination point of view, questions point of view, definitely they will say that, take an example, they will say that they have owned the asset. Is it? They say that they own the asset with respect to $250,000. Is it? Then they have sold the asset. Then they have taken it on a lease back. We are not going into numbers. Okay, we are not going into numbers. First, you should know. We have to write what is the flow of the transactions. If you have you will not get any such significant and appropriate evidence. You have to discuss with the management. These are the standard simple statements which you should understand. If management is agreed to give a response, fine. If management is not giving any response, then you should modify the decisions. Is it? This type of very specific statements you should understand when you are talking about the significant risk. Is that? This is. Now, what are the standards we have covered till now? Any idea? We have covered these things.
Communication with corporate governance.
Yes.
In chapter 8.
Yes. Is it right? See the thing. I am telling you this. I have sent you the list. Again, I will update the list and I will send you the updated list also. Make sure those things you have to read at least once in a week. Once in a week. I am not asking more than that. I will give you a lot of information, related information, standard information, which you have to go through on at least on weekly, initially beginning this month and next month, initially on weekly basis. It makes things clear. Now, what makes it say that there is one standard which says the ISA, the auditor responds to assessed risk. This much we have to write. What the rule says? The rule says that the auditors need to obtain the same thing, obtain sufficient audit evidence. You have to obviously, when we find the risk, is it right? When we find the risk, you should have obtain evidence. You will ask evidence. You will ask more evidence. Is it right? The moment you think that there is a risk element is there, you will ask more things. Now, what you will see, overall response include emphasizing to the audit the importance of professional skepticism. Always you see, the moment you find risk, you will have a questioning mind. You will allocate more staff on that. Specialized staff you will allocate. Is it experienced people you will allocate? Understand the thing. The moment you find something risk, simple way. It is not, I am not talking anything about something which is not in our jargon. The moment we find risk, we will have a professional skepticism and we allocate more staff. You will use the experts and we will make things that there will be a lot of supervision. We will observe the process. Is it right? Response to the risk materials At the assertion level, I told you a simple example, rights and obligations. Is that rights and obligation? What includes? We will say that these are the two new things we are covering now. We will cover test of controls and substantive procedures. Here they will give you the definition or the meaning. You have to memorize this. They will ask difference between control, test of control and substantive procedures. Controls will be there. You will check the controls, that you will test the controls. It is called as we are only testing the controls, whether the controls are effective or not. Very sensitive topic, very exam oriented topic. You are checking they should not be. Controls will be there. You will see whether the controls are effective or not. If the controls are not effective, then only you will do procedures. If controls are effective also, what they will do? They will do two types of procedures. One, they will do a detailed procedures. One, they will do a restricted procedures. Is that they will have the detailed substantive procedures. Is that if controls are effective, is that if controls are there, controls are effective, you will not leave the things like this. You will do procedures, but you will do restricted procedures. With sampling will be less. Is that sampling will be less, procedures will be less. If you find controls are not effective, you will do in detail. Is that these three things you should, we are going to cover again and again: controls, test of controls and substantive procedures. Is it? Test of controls and substantive procedures. They are given, so many articles are there. Okay. Now you memorize this. Okay. What is the test of audit designed to evaluate the same thing, the effectiveness of controls in preventing, detecting and correcting. See, there are three stages are there. First you have to prevent, then you have to detect, then you have to correct. Okay. Again I am saying, you just memorize this. Test of controls are the procedures. Why? Designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness, whether the controls are working effectively or not, operating in process, to prevent, detect and correct what? Material at the assertion level. At the level what we are accuracy, we are making we will recalculate. That is the reason what they will say. They say cast the totals. We are working basically. We are saying that whether it has been, we have carried forward to the ledgers, to the trial balance. We say whether the the closing balances has been carried to the opening balances. If the closing balance is carried to the opening balance, that is the assertion level. If there is any issue is there, you are going to work out there only. Assume your closing balances are not carry forward as opening balance accurately, automatically what will happen? The subsequent things will go wrong. This is the assertion. Assertion level means at the source, as simple as that. At the source, we have to identify. Immediately what will happen? You are preparing your financial statements, your balance sheet is not tallied. Immediately what you will do? You will not do anything else. You will first see trial balance is tallied or not. If trial balance is tallied, subsequently balance sheet has to be tallied. If trial balance is not tallied, you cannot expect that the balance sheet will get, financial statements will be correct. Okay, that is what they say. Is that test of controls, again I am repeating, procedures designed to evaluate the operating effectiveness of controls, the effectiveness of the controls. First, prevent, detect and correct. When carrying out test of controls, an auditor will use, what are the ways they will do? They will say, they will ask inquiry, they will re-perform, and most importantly, they can inspect. You will ask how it is growing. You will re-perform. You will say that yes, take a inventory where you will re-perform whether we are doing the same, the receiving, the recording and the issue is happening in the proper way or not. We are placing the order. When you are placing the, this is what it says, you are receiving an order, is it right? When you are receiving an order for sales, is it right? You are receiving an order for sales. The moment you start, when you receive the order, what you will do? You will see whether we have sufficient inventory or not. We are receiving the order, we will say whether we are going to deliver it or not. When you are receiving the order, you will see whether it has been approved. We are selling to the registered clients or not. When we are receiving the order, we will see whether the client credit rating. We are doing all the things. We are re-performing the thing. Again, so that we will be very clear before we should get a confidence that the client is doing it effectively. We will inspect. We will not just, I told you, if you have a non-current assets, you go and inspect whether if you are having in 10 locations, we go and inspect at least in 2 locations, 5 locations. Is that we will inspect whether we have, because high value goods, is that high value goods, we should make sure that the things has to be in a perfect way. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Is it right? That means test of controls. Very, very important topic. Very important. Audit risk, understand of entity, test of control. This is one of the most important chapter. One of the important chapters. Okay? Now, what is the substantive procedures? Completely different. They will ask, is it right? They will ask the difference between, if you see the question papers, you will have every alternate question paper, you will see test of control and substantive procedures. Difference, okay? The procedures, audit procedure design. Why we are doing? We want to detect. We want to detect. Again, I am taking this as a non-current assets. You have purchased, is it right? You have purchased, client has purchased non-current asset. When client has purchased non-current asset, first we will see that there is a proper approval or there or not. First you will see whether the proper approval or not. We will see whether, if you want to see, it is not a small amount, it is a big amount. You will see whether it has, you will see board of directors, board minutes. Is that? You will see board minutes, whether it has been approved or not. Then you will say even the invoice is in the client's name. This is the substance. At any point, anything goes wrong, you can detect it easily. You can detect it very easily, whether there is a client invoice. Yes, if it is a client invoice, we have most important thing is you have a non-current register. The moment you are purchasing the asset, non-current asset, before you go to record it, the source is your non-current asset register. Once you have the asset register, then we will see whether it has been recorded. When it has been recorded, see the flow, how it's happening. This is substantive. Substantive means at every stage we are recording. Then we'll say that we are calculating the depreciation or not. When we are calculating the depreciation, we are going to show it as an expense in the income statement. We are taking the net book value. Is it when we are taking that? Then we'll say if what we are doing, then if there is a possibility, then we make an inspection. Now this is why it is difficult. We will have to follow the procedure. We have to follow the procedure one by one. If you are missing, we cannot say that we will have a net book value. No, we cannot say that we will record first. First you have to see non-current register. Then you have to make sure that it has to be recorded in the books of the accounts. Is it? Once we are doing this process, listen carefully. Once you are doing this process, at any time we find it any issue, easily we can deduct. If the client is perfect, from first stage to last stage, it is pinpoint accuracy. Pinpoint accuracy. You will not find anything. If everything is going fine, if you have taken the loan, I will tell you, if you have taken the loan for that asset, definitely you will get a confirmation from the bank. How much is the liability is there on that particular asset? How much loan amount is there? If you are taking the loan, definitely you will see income statement, whether you are paying interest expenses or not. Whether we have capitalized the asset or not. That's the reason that the things we are going stage by stage. That's what. When you do the things, we are going to deduct the material misstatements. There are two types of test of details and substantive analytical procedures. Analytical means calculations, okay, calculation. Now we'll cover this. Analytical means calculation. We compare gross profit current year with the previous year. We calculate depreciation of current year with the previous year. Is it? I will give you. I'm here only. I will mention you what is the analytical procedure. One example. You will say that yes, non-current assets has been increased. If non-current assets are increased, what will be the reason? The reason is there will be some purchases. There will be some purchases, there will be some disposals also. I am not saying that only purchases, there will be a disposal. Assume the purchases are more, disposals are less. Then you will see how you are going to make it in detail. You will say that you will see the depreciation. You will see the depreciation for the last year, you see the depreciation for the current year. Definitely when you are making the purchases, the current year depreciation will be more than the previous year. This is the analysis. We are not writing, we are not calculating, we are just saying if non-current assets has been purchased, compare the depreciation for the current year with the depreciation with the prior year. If the current year depreciation is more, it means definitely you have purchased the assets. Is it? What they say, substantive procedures must, they are using the word must always be calculated on which items, on the items which are related to value. And as an auditor, you have to do substantive procedures will always have to be carried out. Some degree means a percentage you have to carry out. You cannot say that I have done my audit and I have not done substantive procedures. Now with this statement, we can understand the importance and significance of substantive procedures. They say that two things are there. Substantive procedures must be or must always be carried out on value at material items, and some degree of substantive procedure will always have to be carried out. This is the reason. Pardon?
Substantive procedures and substantive testing, they are the same, right?
Substantive procedures and substantive?
Testing, they are the same?
Substantive testing. I don't think so. I come across substantive procedures also. Where is substantive testing? Here?
It's mentioned in the second sentence.
Both are same.
Okay.
Is it? Some degree means a small, means at least you have to do some. You should not leave it, okay? Without substantive procedures, you cannot say that we have completed an audit. Is it? Substantive testing means, but in the examination, they will only focus on where substantive procedures. Are you clear about this?
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference between, test of controls, test of details? Is it right? Test of details gain information about the account balances. May appropriate to gain information. Is it? Test of account balances, inventory, non-cut. There are various types of inventories. Is it? Various types. You will do the calculations of sub-inventories in detail. In detail means when we are talking in terms of entails, we say that when they have purchased, when they have issued, when they have valued, all the things. Is it right? In every aspect as such. Okay. With respect to what? With respect to accounting balances, opening balances, closing balances, additions. Is it right? When you are talking about in things, we are making sure in terms of what? In terms of opening balances, in terms of closing balances, is it right? In terms of additions, in terms of disposals, in terms of revaluation, is it right? In terms of revaluation, in terms of obsolete, is it right? In terms of obsolete inventory, is it right? Likewise, we are talking in terms of the account balances, in terms of the inventory. You have a broad canvas will be there with respect to inventory and non-current assets. Is it? Test of detail. Substantive analytical procedures, we are talking about appropriates of large volumes of transactions. Examples of in terms of wages, in terms of salaries. How you will do in terms of wages? Any idea? Anyone? They will ask substantive procedures with respect to wages, substantive wages with respect to payrolls. Is that payrolls? When you are talking about the payrolls, substantive procedures, what happens? You will have number of staff at the beginning of the month, number of staff who are joining, some of who left, leaving. Is that number of staff who are leaving? Is it number of staff? What is the number of staff at the end of the period? Okay, number of staff at the end of period. This I am giving a very sketchy inputs for you. Is that in terms of salaries, in terms of wages, what will happen? You will talk about, whenever you are talking about the wages, the most critical factor is overtime. The most critical factor is who is the supervision. Is it? The most critical one is when they are clock in and clock out. When they are coming in, when they are going out. Is it? These are the things. How many are joining, how many are leaving. Is it? How many are doing overtime. These are the things that will always prop up whenever you are doing the audit. Yes, please. Yeah, tell me.
No, nothing is there.
Okay. Is it? Means most of the time, if you see the things, test of details, is it right? Test of details is with respect to assets. Analytical, it's only a broader framework. Analytical procedures is with respect to some expenses. Is it? Now, what is the difference? How it is going to be differentiated? Test of details are likely to be appropriate in whether which has been identified as a significant risk. Now, this is a very objective significance. Is that significant means which one is significant, which not is significant? We are not in that part of discussion that this is significant or this. It is the judgment which makes significant risk. Okay, test of details. It is your judgment that yes, we are doing test of details with respect to inventory. Inventory is very high risk. Okay, inventory is very high risk. Is that non-current assets high risk? Is that non-current assets high risk? Cash and bank high risk. Getting mad? Receivables and payables are very high risk. You will be very specific with respect to those things. We will go in detail. Is it that we are going in detail? When we are talking about, I will take the inventory only. Is that inventory? Inventory, what will happen? Basically, you are doing something with respect to periodic inventory, something with respect to perpetual inventory. Continuous movement, high risk. Is that the production is going on 24 hours and you have to take the inventory count during which we cannot stop the production, but simultaneously we have to take the inventory count. It involves a very significant risk. How you have to identify, how you have to differentiate, how you have to separate it, how you have to flag it, which has been counted, which has been not counted. Is that which has been counted and which has been not counted? We have to make the continuous inventory is there, continuous process is there, inventory count, very high risk procedures. Are you clear about this? Test of details and substantive analytical procedure. Very clear. Substantive analytical procedure. See, in the examination, if you go through the questions, is it right? If you go through the questions, 20 marks question, is it right? They will divide this 20 marks into 4 different parts, and they will say substantive procedures. Is it? They will say substantive procedure. They will say substantive procedures with payroll. They will say that it is going to be for 5 marks. They will give substantive procedures for non-current assets. They will say it is for 6 marks. They will say substantive procedures for the cash. They will give it for 4 marks. They will say substantive procedures for the inventory. They will give you 5 marks. If you take it, it will be 20 marks. Is it? This is the way. Now again, you will have different assertions will be there. Yeah, different. Then it is too early to talk. Now, what is our concept? Our understanding is what is test of control, what is test of details, and what is substantive analytical procedures. Yeah, these three things we have to be very, very clear. Is that? Now, what happens with respect to the examination point of view? Audit risk is the key syllabus area. You are very likely to get one question on risk. 100% they will give. There is no doubt on that. This will be tested, fine. It will be tested in section A or section B. It is very important you should understand what audit risk is, distinguish between a business risk. Is it right? This area of syllabus is best tackled by, we have to work out with past examination questions. Is it right? Now, audit risk questions may present you with a scenario. They will give you a scenario. I told you what is the audit risk and what is the audit response. Is it right? Response. They have come up with continuously, is it right, on the old syllabus as well as on the new syllabus. Okay, there's nothing they have left. There's no, technically there is no difference between old syllabus and new syllabus. Only the pattern of examination is different. Understand? In the old syllabus you don't have multiple choice questions. In the new syllabus they have multiple choice questions. Don't come with a doubt that what is the basic difference between old and new. Okay, section A you have MCQs, they are added in this thing. For this type of questions, see the thing, you have to a columnary format. Keep it. See, I am telling you this. If you have a good opportunity, plan it. Whenever they say you have to put in columns, you have to divide in small sentences. Divide it small, each risk one point. One point, make two sentences. Don't write one sentence. 2 or 3 sentences. Left side and audit response, right side. Once you have explained, this is the audit risk, explain audit risk. See, if you follow this structure, they will give you marks by default. I'm telling you on recording. What students will do, the students will write only one sentence. And they say, that's not it. I'm telling you something, I have to explain little bit on that. It makes sense. Is it? This means you should put in a, most of the time, whenever they will put like this, put in a columnary form. We are not only understanding this, but when you review the questions, I will review on the same basis. I will send you all the old question papers. Every question paper has the same pattern. When they are asking us, we have to give in that format. As simple. No, you can't write in paragraph. Okay, you cannot write in paragraph. Make sure you fully explain. These are the important things. You read the things, your confidence will increase. You should make sure fully explain fully the risk. You won't get full mark for simply writing down the factor. Understand? They have mentioned very clearly. You will not see. This is what BPP talks about. Is it? What financial statement risk might arise from inventory? Risk that NRV, net realizable value. This is with respect. See, in order to know this, you should know IAS 2. There are two methods are there. Lower the cost, net realizable value. Is it? You should have some basic background on that. That whenever they talk about inventory, we have to make sure IAS 2. We have to write. It gives you a very positive message to the other side of the people. Is it? The audit response need to be specific. Writing down, discuss with the management. Only you are writing with discuss with the management, it makes no sense. You need to explain what exactly auditor needs to discuss. Suitable response to each risk may also depend on circumstances of the client environment in which it applies. Make sure you tailor, you situation your responses so that it will be appropriate to the scenario. That is the reason I told you in the beginning of the class. Don't go with a predetermined mind that I will write this. No memorization. You should have more clarity on the concept. I will teach only the concept for you. Is it? I will scenario based analysis we will do. Every scenario. We are not going to have a different ways. Same thing that will be repeated in different circumstances. So memorizing part will be different, but analyzing part will be also be completely different. If exam presents you with a scenario, why we are doing this? If you go to the when the moment you are doing this, we will have the in the next part we will have exam question. If an exam presents you with the scenario about the audit is, you don't have to define it. When they say explain, explain. When they say define, define. Is that if you they say explain, you are defining. What is the difference between define? Define is what it has been stated. Explain comes in your own words. Describe comes in your own words. You are describing the things. Defining means what is the definition you are talking about. If you want to define audit risk consists of three things: inherent risk, control risk, and detection risk. You have to mention what is control risk, what is detection. That is the definition. Describing, you describe in your own words. You will not get any marks for doing so if it is not required by question. Is a superfluous material in your answer will not gain you any credit, and see, it will waste your valuable time. That is the reason I am saying, don't see, we have to understand the question. Most important thing is make sure that what the question is asking. Reading time. Is that reading time? When we are going to start the questions, I will always, that is my practice, I will always first read what is the requirement. Based on the requirement, you do. If you follow this simple rule, things will be very, very smooth. Can we stop or can we continue this? Yes, Gaita, Abdul Mukhid, Mariam and Laila. Can we stop or we continue? If we continue, we'll take another 20 minutes. Is it okay?
Better to stop, sir.
Oh, that's I'm asking you now.